Action! Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 1st of October, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
It's me.
And Robert Kemp.
Why are you going to win?
I don't think he is.
They're all going to lose because they've got the wrong voice actor. Probably.
Yeah, clearly. That's going to be weird for a while.
Well, I mean, that's the Wonder voice has already changed, right? And because he only says wowie zowie, I don't think anyone will ever know.
Well, as far as we know, he says that. Maybe he has a bunch of other voice lines.
Damn spam.
Is it someone else doing the stupid flowers, or is it the same voice actor?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the actual question, is like, are they now going to have like 3 voice actors so that they can have one for Mario, one for Luigi, one for Mario?
Yeah.
Or is it still just going to be one guy who's doing everything?
I bet it'd be one guy.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair enough if they're brothers, right? Like Mario and Luigi, to have one voice actor, I think probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, like Lisa and Bart are totally different voice actors, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. They'll probably do that. Hell, they'll probably get Peach to be played by the same guy. It'd be really weird.
Who?
Peach.
Peach.
Just fill in all the female characters.
I thought you said Pete.
Pete. Yeah.
Oh, Pete. Yeah,
you know,
Pete.
Petey Piranha. Yeah, he's fully voiced now.
Yeah, of course.
What, mate?
That's obviously Pete for our voice.
Of course it is. He's a proper gangster.
Who's got the lowest voice in Mario? Bowser? No,
it's got to be Pete. I mean, that's pretty low, but no, Pete would have it if Pete talked.
Well, yeah, I mean, theoretical voices. There's a whole kind of different ones you could suggest that might be better.
I mean, I guess we've already
bloopers or something.
Yeah,
probably have quite a low voice.
Big Penguin should probably have a lower voice than he does.
Yeah, it's not. That cry is not a basic cry, is it?
No. Oh. Because it's a big penguin.
Mm.
Big penguin have bows.
Do you think emperor penguins have a bit of bass? I bet they don't. I bet they sound quite chirpy.
I think they probably sound like birds, in fact.
Yeah, I know. What's the bassiest bird going on? Like I guess a majestic kind of soaring eagle or something. But I bet they don't even sound that majestic. Like that famous eagle sound effect isn't even an eagle, is it? The one that you hear in every single movie.
Yeah, also not bassy at all.
Not an eagle, really. Yeah. No,
the Assassin's Creed jump sound.
But eagles. But all birds are descended from dinosaurs, and I bet they must have been. But you don't know. Maybe they weren't bassy. Maybe the T-Rex. It sounds really cool in Jurassic Park, but maybe the real T-Rex sounded like a bird.
It's just like.
The other one that's similar is like crocodiles, right? And they are super bassy because they communicate underwater.
That's true.
Rumbling.
I mean,
that's true. Do they? I didn't. I know whales communicate underwater, etc. But I didn't know crocodiles. And do they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they.
Fun facts, animal facts,
fun theoretical facts. But they might not be
do
true.
They?
So
I don't even think of them as
signals.
Do they even care to talk to each other? Crocodiles. I imagine that they.
I mean, every animal
really
kind of has
time.
to talk to each other at some point.
Do you think? I don't know.
Even if it's just like get the fuck away from me.
I guess so. I feel like crocodiles are. You do see them in big groups, don't you? But I don't know if they're talking to each other or just fighting over food. What do I know about crocodile behavior? Absolutely nothing.
Steve Irwin taught us nothing.
This is not a podcast about animals.
No. Animal facts.
I mean, we know they can grab walls and hit a baseball real good. If Latch is anything to go by. Video game reference. It's a podcast about video games.
Yeah, it's a podcast movie. We do at our stand-up meetings now. We do at work. We do fun fact of the day. Someone is nominated to give a fun fact. And there's quite a few animal facts. And Katie, one of our product people, on the gave some bird facts about swifts and swallows, or whatever it was, about how they like live life on the wing, and can barely have the strength in their legs to actually perch, and they reproduce and they fly all on the wing. All these facts about swallows, and I was like, yes, but what's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? And she was like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, and then she flew off a bridge.
Exploded and fell off a bridge. Yeah.
I hope someone kicked her from the chat immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is it swifts that bird facts? Is it swifts that can't take off unless they can go downwards? Like they have to jump off of something because they can't.
So if they're on the ground, they're screwed.
Yeah, I think it's
they can't get airborne.
I think it's swifts that have that problem.
Maybe they need a really stiff breeze to fly into to get off the ground.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like an aircraft carrier has to point towards the wind, doesn't it, for the plane, make it easier for the planes to take off.
They're properly waft dependent.
Fully waft dependent.
Yeah. They don't fly; they just waft.
Imagine being waft dependent. Wafts are so unpredictable, just in general.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. How are you supposed to depend on wafts?
You got to time it. That's what it is. You just got to right. I'm sitting this. It's not going the right way. It's not going the right way. All right. Oh, I think it's shifting. Through all my years of experience as a bird on the waft,
you don't depend on wafts. You depend on your experience
of
how to find the right waft. Yeah.
I suppose that's true of glider pilots, right? It's like, oh, there's probably an updraft there. We'll head that way.
I don't understand how that works. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure they do know. They just have an instrument in their inside that just goes, oh, you're in a draft now. It's like, okay, well, I'll stay here for a bit.
Are there sensors that can tell when there's a column of like hot air, like an updraft?
I think it's just the I don't know, what do you call it? Like, does the change the rate of change of altitude just like it just suddenly affects you? So it's like, oh, I'm gaining height. Oh, okay. A altimeter differential or something.
I'm sure that's definitely measurable.
Yeah,
but heading towards the right direction to where that's going to improve.
where our waft actually could be.
Yeah. They know where those wafts are. But how much experience can you gain? And surely every flight can't be that long. I suppose you can glide for quite a while. But like, it's for flying a plane, it's like how many hours of experience flight hours. But surely a flight in a glider is generally shorter than a flight in a
presumably, yeah. Depends how lucky you are, I suppose, at finding them. And because I guess when I went up, I was a little unlucky because they couldn't find one.
Right. How long was it then from like being launched?
I wouldn't say a huge amount of time. Probably about 20 minutes, something like that.
Do you get towed up there by a plane, or
I got plane towed rather than catapulted, or whatever it is they use.
Yeah. Whatever they do, yeah. 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was about that.
That's quite a while.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
And that's when they can't find an updraft.
Yeah,
20 minutes. Okay.
I think it was that anyway. Can't really remember.
Yeah.
It was a while back. Shorter than I sort of hoped, but and they were like a little apologetic, but it's like, well, we could go up again. It's like, not having it.
No? Oh, okay. Fair. When did you get to do that? Was that like a red letter day thing?
Kinda, yeah. It was a gift from my mum.
That's nice.
You can go to Rattlesden, I think it is. There's a little airstrip out that way where they launch gliders from.
You've done a couple of good because you did got to do the rally in the.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
The Evo, yeah.
Evo 4, yeah. But they didn't let me out on. They didn't let me slide that on gravel. Unfortunately, that was a tarmac bit. But I forget what else I drove. I think it was some sort of Suzuki that I did get to slide, but that was only front wheel drive, so the sliding's a little weird in that.
Yeah, that's kind of
you
weird.
Can't really power through corners in the same way.
No.
Like putting the power down actually regains grip, which is weird. But,
right, yeah, because you're kind of pulling yourself along.
Yeah.
What have you ever driven a rear-wheel drive car?
I mean, yeah, technically Gnome's Beamer is a rear-wheel drive car, so
right.
I own
is
one.
It? Oh. But, interesting. Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Is that rear-wheel drive? That what series is that?
The 1 Series.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. A 1 Series. Oh, that's cool.
It's a 1 Series 116D, I believe. But
interesting. High D. Did BMW even make a front-wheel drive car? I guess they don't. Unless you count like a Mini or something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Mini probably does count, I guess.
As
indirectly.
A Beamer?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. What do you think of that 1 Series?
It's okay. Here we go. Car review time.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Here we go. Dr. Miro time.
I think it drives real nice. As in, the feeling of the steering and the feeling of the acceleration. It's not like it's a super powerful car or anything like that, but it's powerful enough. And if you put it into sport mode, it's got a little bit of poke to it. It's nice. Generally, like the actual feeling of driving is very nice. To the point where it's like I get back in my Focus now, which is a good car, but not like
pretty standard
high echelons of driving. So now it's like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't as nice as I thought it was. I guess.
By the way, even in London, I keep seeing for some reason recently on the street, I keep seeing the bit of rubber piping out the side of the door of the Ford Focus. I've seen it like 3 times in the past 2 weeks.
Classic.
Anyway,
it does seem to be like the key failure on Focuses is that the door seals just go. It's just always there. It's just always hanging.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So that's the good. R1 in particular has been fairly unreliable. It's all right, but it's had a couple of high profile failures. I've never had to get towed before, for instance, in any other car I've owned other than this one. So that's been a problem. And it had a fault recently where if you drove it in the wet and turned the windscreen wipers on, it would choose to brake all by itself, which was mildly terrifying.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, can something be mildly terrifying, or is it just is that just a little bit scary at that point? Well, yeah, we know exactly why. It's because Beamers apparently have this quote unquote feature where when it's wet, they like to skim the brakes along the pads very slightly. With the idea of drying them off a bit, to just take the surface layer of water off, and
but if that's miscalibrated, then
something goes wrong with the system, and in our case, it's the ABS unit takes care of that, and in our case, it just couldn't. The ABS unit just seemed incapable of just applying a little bit of pressure, and so we just go.
Wait, I'm gonna dry your brakes now.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, I've just.
Maybe that's the basiest Mario character. It's actually the one block.
The whomp. So it would just suddenly, you'd be doing 60 and suddenly your speed would halve, and it's like, oh god, this is a bad idea. It was a fun time, but they had to replace the whole ABS unit and get a specialist repair and to do it and stuff like that from our local garage.
So that's your main complaint. Is the
reliability has been a bit sucky. I don't like its computer system. I think it's horrible. I think it's bad to use. It's that sort of awkward halfway house, where it's a little fancier than what I've got in the Ford, but as a result of that, it's just a nightmare to actually navigate and use. Much the simple system in the Ford is all I need, and it's fine. I don't have sat nav, but I don't care. I've got a phone for that.
If you bought any new car today, it would be crazy different.
If you bought one now, chances are it would have a screen. It would be touch. It would be
It's basically standard now, isn't it?
Which to an extent is also quite annoying because things get buried behind layers.
It's super annoying when you don't have a dial for the heat.
Well, sometimes you just want a button to say go to my phone. Just play the audio from my phone in a single button press. Thanks, that'll be good. Or you hear car reviewers complain all the time. It's like, all the air conditioning is now tucked behind the screen, and you got to go to the right place to access it. And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm changing it all that often for that to be a worry, but yeah, okay, it's a few extra steps in a car.
Annoying, yeah.
Which probably isn't a good idea.
No. When you're trying to concentrate on driving, yeah.
That's kind of what has always put me off a bit about a Tesla and their no button philosophy.
Yeah. Oh, completely. It's pretty weird.
It's nuts. Yeah. Like, did you know that in a Tesla, in order to put it in reverse, you have to swipe down on the left-hand side of on the edge of the screen?
I think there is a manual way to do it, but obviously because they need a mechanical backup for everything, I guess. But yeah, I didn't know that. That's really weird.
That looks so awkward. It's like just give me a selector and push it in reverse.
Doesn't it have a thingy where it predicts whether you want to go backwards or not, so you don't have to touch anything?
What does it do the game thing where if you hold the brake long enough, it just goes in reverse? That's probably worse.
It definitely. I think it does something. So if it figures out you're trying to parallel park, and it automatically switches it like as you do it. Like it's like, oh, now you stopped. Now you're going to switch. Now you want to switch. Or whatever. But I think they're getting to the point where they can parallel park themselves, and you don't have to do it at all.
Sure, yeah, plenty of brand new cars like in that sort of semi luxury bracket will do that now, and even some that aren't in that bracket will do it.
Yeah, it's true.
But so there's a bit of that. Most cars solve this problem by just allowing you to use a CarPlay or Android Auto, and then you just let that take over, and it's like, okay, fine. And then I can just use the entertainment system with that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's just my phone then.
The well-designed one.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That's cool. I was wondering, so if it drives nice, what would an M Series 1
I bet it drives even nicer.
Be like? Do you think that'd be a good car?
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. You know,
the M's
are usually
confused because it's like the in between one is like there is
a 2 Series that's like a slightly longer coupe.
Yeah, that's like the sporty 1 Series, right? The 2 Series,
kind of.
The 4 is the sportier 3 Series, and then
sort of. They are sort of increasing in size generally as you go up the numbers.
Somewhat.
But, and increasing cost.
Who drives a fucking full-sized 5 Series car? Who drives those things? I don't know.
No, I don't. I'm not sure I know anyone that's ever had a 5 or a 7.
Oh my god, 7.
See them about every now and then. Actually, in fairness, I haven't seen a 7 for ages, but they're about. I guess everyone wants the X's though now, right? They want the big BMWs. You either go small or you go big. No one goes in between anymore. Or so the market says.
So, what's the starter car going to be in a Forza Motorsport?
Well, the one
7 or whatever. Are we on 8? Like which
8
one are we
technically,
on?
yeah.
Like 8. Okay, but what's it? Is it just called the Matrix or whatever? Sorry, is it just called the Forza Motorsport?
Yeah, pretty much. Fort Motorsport Kings.
Okay, Kings. It doesn't have a number, does it?
No, it doesn't this time. They've rebooted. And the intro car is a Corvette of some description, the one you play like in the "Welcome to the game" kind of sequence.
Right, for the Americans, I guess. Can you even get a Corvette here? I guess you can.
Yeah, I have on a rare occasion I've seen them about, but they're pretty rare over here.
I'm guessing it's only the American Airmen at the airbase that have the Corvettes, right? Or around Bury St Edmunds and stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they always had all the Mustangs, right? You ever notice that? All the Mustangs driving around Bury St Edmunds? Because they're all from Lake Heath. Yeah.
I mean, there's always
gigantic.
I mean, there's always one parked at my dentist in Ipswich, so I don't know if that counts for anything.
That probably is the dentist, right?
Probably, yeah. There's like a sign on the wall saying this is where the Mustang parks. Like not even joking.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. And the other thing about the Beamer that I don't like is I don't think its seating position is quite nice. It doesn't feel quite as like this is where the pedal should go in relation to the alignment of the wheel. And apparently some manufacturers do have a bit of a problem with that when they make the right-hand drive version of the car. So they make the left-hand drive version nice. Because that's their, for their market, their home market. And then when they convert it, they sometimes screw some stuff up. And I think in Beamers, at least in this Beamer, which is what 2015, it's
not that old. Yeah.
No, not super old, but yeah, at least in this one, it kind of feels a little bit twisted to me. A little bit. It's where your feet go aren't quite as comfortable, but that could just be Gnome's sitting position. But I haven't been able to dial it in when I've took the time to be like, you know what, I'm going to change this just for me, and it really annoy her. It's like I've just not been able to get it right. Anyway, Beamer review.
I tried to wedge in some video game talk in there.
Yeah, little bit.
I think we did well. Yeah. Done a car
I can't play Cuphead on it. How about that? You can do that in a Tesla.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a selling point. I don't know.
Not really.
It's stressful enough sitting on your sofa playing Cuphead, so I don't know when you're driving down the highway, you're definitely going to cause some accidents.
There's some kart racer or something you can play on it where you actually use the steering wheel of the car.
Use the steering wheel.
And then look off to the side really awkwardly to actually play it. Anyway,
imagine using the steering yoke to play Cuphead. Impossible. Oh, man. Anyway.
I actually kind of get, the whole have a massive screen just in case you're sat there for a bit, or waiting for something, then you've got something to do. Everyone's got a phone, I guess, so they could just do it there. But still, having a big screen might be nice.
Yeah. Anywho, what else is going on? Seg, you've not been feeling well.
That's why this podcast is an entire week delayed.
Yeah.
Probably I was in hospital for a week.
Apologies for the delay.
Probably should have front loaded it with that.
But you're back on air.
I was considering using that as my intro at the very start of the podcast, but then I was like, no, that's not. Let's save that slightly. But then it's got saved a bit more, apparently.
Yeah, so what happened?
Have you been saved? Yeah.
Well,
are you doomed?
Well, I mean, I've got like an entire another week's worth of antibiotics to get through yet, so we'll see, I guess.
Oh, you can't drink. That's annoying.
Well, I can't fucking sleep for more than 6 hours in a row is the actual problem.
Oh, no. What, due to the issue?
You have to take them every 6 hours.
Oh, what?
Huh.
So you have to, set an alarm, but can you just, blearily, have it on the bedside table with a water bottle and, take it and then go straight back to sleep?
Kind of, because the medication instructions are don't lie down immediately after you take this. So you at least have to sit up for 5 minutes or whatever.
Right, okay.
Taking the pills.
Well, that's quite an annoying restriction.
Although speaking of weird restrictions, how many times have you actually read the actual instructions of medication for real?
Hardly ever.
Yeah, but in this case, I was like, well, this is real medication, so I probably should just to be on the safe side. But the weird thing about it is the entire time I was in hospital, they're just you're basically on paracetamol the entire time. They just give that every time the drugs are given out, it's just here's some more paracetamol, which in my case was more important for fever control or whatever than pain. But so when I get home and I look at the instructions for the antibiotics I've been given in pill form rather than in hospital where it was all liquid or whatever.
Right.
I get home, I read the instructions, and these pills specifically say, do not take this paracetamol.
Oh. So
and I'm like, okay then.
They've switched.
Okay.
So the entire time I was in hospital giving theoretically possibly even the same drug, but just in liquid form, I was completely full of paracetamol, but now we're home and it's don't do that.
Yeah, but there are plenty of variants of antibiotics, aren't there? That's the thing, because you can be allergic to some, and then they'll...
Well, sure. I mean, that was, part of the whole first couple of days in hospital where it was just at the start, they just basically dump shit tons of generic antibiotics at you until they figure out which exact one they need.
Right, yeah. So what prompted the whole visit? How did it begin? Tell us the story.
There's not much story to tell, and that's kind of the problem because it's even the doctors were like, "Well, I guess you were just unlucky."
Oh, really?
Not helpful. Basically, I was sitting on my computer playing Rocket League, and then my back started to hurt because my posture playing Rocket League is awful for a start. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go lie down for a while so I can unfuck my back, which is what I usually do. And then once the back pain went away, I was like, hang on a minute, my leg hurts. And then it got a lot worse.
Oh. Weird. Did you not immediately think it was like a back-related thing that was making your leg hurt? Because that's what I normally think, right? Like if I have back pain, then sciatica can mess your leg up as well. And it's
kind of, but it like got worse a lot, like way quicker.
Was it like a warm pain? Does that make sense? Like
I don't even know. But it was bad enough that when I was talking to the doctors and whatnot, I said it was like the pain was bad enough that I then threw up. But I'm not entirely convinced that was really the case. It's like
what, you just had some bad.
Yeah, I ate something bad as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I threw up, and then I was like, I need paracetamol, so I ate that, and then there was just like, and then I failed to sleep for like the next 4 hours, and was like hella feverish, and it was like, yeah, let's just go to the hospital, I think.
Oh, okay, interesting. Interesting.
And
yeah,
I don't. You could see it on my leg and everything, so it's like, yeah, this is probably an infection of some kind.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know at what point it's. I don't know at what point I would have made the call, like to let's go, because I'm usually pretty reluctant to get help of any kind. Let's put it that way.
Well, yes, obviously,
yeah.
So it's just I don't know if I'd have made the same choice. Good that you did though.
Well, I mean, it was noticeably like different because it was all in one leg, and it was like very. Well, I mean, once it started getting red and everything, it was like, yeah, there's something's definitely going on.
Yeah.
Probably need to deal with this in some way.
Deal with it.
And now I can do a Saladcast review of the hospital, I guess.
So how was the process of how did you end up in the hospital?
Well, I mean, so you phoned the stupid that alternate number, like
121 or
whatever the hell it is. You phoned
111. Is it 111? Yeah, like 999, but the other way. Yeah.
But so they ask you a bunch of questions, and then at the end of it, the woman is like, "Yeah, you should probably go to hospital."
It's triage,
so like,
right?
Okay.
Okay. So what? They like go to A&E?
Yeah, just go.
Okay.
Which is confirming what I already thought, so that's fine.
So where did you go? Ipswich?
Yeah, went into the ER there, and it was just like, hey, I think they were meant to.
Don't call it ER. That's too American, mate. What are you talking about? ER. A&E. Thank you. Sorry.
George Clooney's going to rock up and just have it.
Is this in Chicago?
That'd be way cooler.
Yeah, it'd be a lot cooler.
Yeah, but he would. All Clooney would do is just stand in the corner with a clipboard and smolder. He wouldn't actually help you. He would just be in the corner going.
But then they'd also actually solve the problem a lot quicker, probably.
And then he'd probably
one episode.
Yeah, this is like casualty situation.
True.
Yeah.
And you might get an espresso out of it.
Possibly.
There's always
that.
Yeah. Some dapper Dan. Yeah.
But I went in there, and I'm sure they were meant to have the information from that call, but I don't think they did. So, redo all that information, basically, as always.
Yeah.
Because systems don't link up, so no.
And then also,
too advanced.
I don't think this mattered very much, but coincidentally, this was the first day of the doctor's strike.
Oh, no. Right.
I don't think it actually mattered too much because, I barely saw any doctors anyway. It was all nurses and then one consultant.
Well, they usually do try and these strikes do normally avoid A&E stuff as much as possible.
Well, sure, but then even when I was in the actual part of the hospital, it was just this is all nurses anyway. It's just wards stuff. They don't actually use doctors for that, really.
To a point, yeah.
But yeah, we got in there and then spent the first night of just getting a shit ton of fluid pumped into me in a ridiculous way. Just normal fluids and antibiotic fluids, which is weird because it's you're not drinking anything and you still have to pee every 2 hours.
Oh man,
because you're having so much goddamn liquid pumped in through your arm.
Weird. Oh, that must suck not being able to. I've never had a thing where I've had to. Did you have to nil by mouth then, basically, or?
No, there was no restrictions on what I could eat or drink, so that was fine.
God,
because they were putting all the fluids in for me anyway, so I didn't really feel the need to drink.
Yeah,
regardless.
Interesting. Because it's such a a knee jerk for me. If I got 2 seconds, there's nothing happening. I better have a sip of something.
It's just, as we know from the podcast, where Rob can't get for a podcast without 2 drinks at the same time.
Yep, absolutely. My throat just goes.
But yeah, that sucked.
What were we talking about before this podcast? I have to be permanently lubricated.
Double fisting at all times.
The more annoying part, of course, is like while there was no restrictions on what I could eat or drink, they were keeping track of everything that came out. Well, not everything. The liquid part that came out, which means you'd have to pee in a bottle all the time.
Sometimes.
Okay, so firstly, I got away with, peeing in a bottle and not anything even worse than that, because I could still stand up. That was the important thing.
Yeah,
even though my leg was fucked, I could still stand up at least. So, sometimes you're doing it next to the bed with the curtain pulled round, but then eventually I decided that was not. I decided I could walk enough to at least get to the bathroom, which makes it way easier. Like, you don't really realize until you're in that situation where it's just looking at the toilet, it makes it way easier.
Right. I guess there's a sort of like a mental
psychological
block.
thing. Yeah. So I was like, I can hobble my ass to the toilet enough to deal with it this way, and that's better. Also, speaking of the pee bottles, they're made of cardboard.
Yeah.
Really?
And that's just weird. I mean, obviously,
how does that work?
I think that's true of like the bedpans and things as well now, right? They're not actually bedpans.
Are they like plastic coating lined or whatever?
I don't think it's like a coating. I think it's just like embedded, like it's a mix or whatever that just makes it waterproof.
Yeah, there's like a specific type of cardboard that I can't really that is in other things that I can't really think of what that is, but you'd know it when you held it. You'd be like, it's like the kind of material they make egg boxes out of, actually.
Yeah, it's like a slightly more dense egg box, basically. But yeah, that I went through a shit ton of those, and that continued for nearly the entire time I was in there. They were tracking it, though the amount of fluids getting put into me decreased significantly. I went back to actually drinking things. But the most annoying part is just so here's the actual Saladcast review of Hospital.
Okay. Of the NHS in England. Yeah, okay.
Is that obviously it's hard to tell from your perspective because you only see a tiny segment of what's going on. But the nurses really suck.
Oh no.
Man, really?
Well, they'll come over to you and be like, "Hey, we need to do this thing," and you're like, "Okay, we can, let's do this thing." And then they just disappear for 15 minutes, and then they come back and do the thing, and it's like, "So what the fuck were you doing?"
Yeah, why did you warn me about it? Yeah.
But obviously, they're probably juggling 50 different patients or whatever. All kinds of things could interfere and interrupt. But it just seems really badly organised.
No, a good friend of mine is a nurse, and they it's usually that. It's usually that they'll be prepping to do something, and something else will come up almost every time, and they've got to go deal with that first, or there's some emergency somewhere else, so everything else gets put on hold, and that's just the norm. It's
and the other thing that sucks,
constantly prioritizing.
Yeah,
what's the thing to do? Yeah.
The other thing that sucks, but is much less relevant for us, is if you don't speak English very good, you're going to get fucked in hospital. It sucks. Wow. Just from the 3 or 4 other people I heard around me who don't. There was an Arabic guy who was just pissed because he basically didn't really understand how diagnosis can change over time as different doctors see different things or whatever.
Yeah.
So he was pissed about that.
He was annoyed that the first thing he was told
wasn't true any longer. Right? Yeah, basically.
Right.
I mean, why would you be annoyed at that? Surely that's just
because they weren't explaining it well enough for his understanding of the explanation, I guess.
But I guess doctors and nurses they generally don't do that, right? Because
well, that is sort of the other problem. Is just no one really explains anything.
Yeah.
Even really obvious things like how the hell you work this bed. It was I pretty much had to figure that out on my own.
Right. Yeah. Well, they don't have time for that.
No, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got other shit to do. But then there was I think Portuguese guy across from me who basically didn't understand English almost at all, and that just sucked for him. He was just pretty much by himself, not even because I don't think they even made him understand the call button for the nurses or whatever. He was just pretty much stuck. That sucked.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do though, right? You'd have to Well, yeah, unless the hospital has some random interpreter who's basically like probably doing miles and miles of circuits every night just to get around everyone.
One of the other guys who was foreign was talking about they did have an doctor who could speak the language at some point, and I don't know if they ever showed up. And then like one of the other ones just had his family show up.
Oh, okay.
Except it's really annoying for that as well, because like visiting hours, which was like 10 till 7 or whatever, visiting hours happens after like the round where the doctors come and explain to you what's going on. So they actually had to like get his family to come in, and then they had to explain like, no, we're allowed to be here because we're the interpreters for this guy, even though it's not this.
Yeah.
Basically, if you speak a foreign language, you want your family to someone who can actually translate for you to be there at all times. Ideally,
but that is probably true wherever you are. That's probably not a UK specific thing, because it's you want your talent in certain areas, and languages probably isn't a key skill for a medical professional.
Maybe certain areas have like a higher proportion of a certain language or something,
and
have a bit more chance, but generally,
I mean, most wards allow mobile phones now, right? They've dropped that restriction. So it's like could at least attempt to Google Translate.
Those people didn't try and call up someone to do the translation even.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd give Google a go. Assuming you've got good network, I suppose.
I think that would be too slow though, because I don't think doctors would, hang around long enough to work through that system.
Is there like a real-time translator, or real-time-ish translator you can use? Does Google do that now?
I mean, maybe.
Or is it still all request, I suppose, where it goes... Yeah, something. Yeah, they must do. I'm sure I've seen adverts, but maybe on the Apple side where people have sort of done that. But I don't know if it's still just sped up for the advert, or if it is like still request based, where they say a thing and then wait for a server to tell them what was said. I don't know.
Yeah,
we must be near the Babelfish age, surely.
Maybe
we're definitely getting closer. Yeah.
And then the other important thing, obviously, is if you're allowed to eat shit, maybe get people to bring you outside food and don't eat hospital food.
Oh, man, no, I'm going to refute that. Like when we were in for like Miles being born, then we were like, I don't know, hospital food was pretty good. I had
sometimes. Some of it was god awful.
Okay, is it variable?
Well, I mean, they are at least fairly flexible on like allowing you to just say that you don't want something and they can get something else. Like one night I was like, I don't really want any of these hot meals, but can you just get me one of the sandwiches that are usually for lunch? And it's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we've got those hanging about. They were like, at least on the maternity ward, I think there was one moment where they were just like, yeah, we've got some extra stuff hanging about. Help yourself. just go to the fridge.
Do that as well. Yeah. But it's just like some of it was actually I didn't really like any of it, but I think that was like partially nausea, maybe. Maybe. I definitely had to force myself to eat things a couple of times. But yeah, if you're allowed to, you just get someone to bring shit in. There's some dudes at the other end of the room eating McDonald's.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. We used to. We've ordered curries for people. One of my mates was seriously offering to get a KFC brought in, and we were like, no, it's fine. We probably should have done that, but still.
But it's obviously the advantage of hospital food is it's free, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I had some kind of, not normally into my baked potatoes, but it was a baked potatoes with some kind of chickeny brothy thing over it. Like while we were still in the maternity ward, and they were like, yeah, you can have some as well. And I'm like, cool.
That sounds way better than anything that I saw.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. And I just remember, like, the first thing after Littleton was born, like, Gnome was like, they were obviously they're really nice to new mums because they've been through a lot at that point, and they're just like, what do you want? Anything? Like, we'll get you something. And she's like, toast and jam and tea, and it's like, yep, there you go. Have some, like, super easy, not exactly a complex meal, but still, it was just like, here, have some toast and jam, and she's like, oh.
It's what you need in that kind of situation.
Oh yeah.
Well, that sure was what it was like when I came home, and I was just like, holy shit, I can just eat normal shit.
Yeah.
and sleep normally. That was my actual big problem.
Except
like,
for 6 hours only.
Well, yeah, except for 6 hours only. But like, my big problem is that like, because I can't sleep on my back, which is the default pose of hospital beds.
Yes,
it's just like I was totally boned there, and also, you know, I had like a thing stuck inside of my elbow, so that even makes like lying on my side difficult because you've got like this pipe that you have to worry about all the time. So yeah, I basically didn't sleep very well at all, and then when I got home, it was like, holy shit, thank God, finally sleep for at least 6 hours.
I tell you what, getting out of Ipswich Hospital can be fun. I properly got lost one time. Just like, how do I get out of here? It was like the middle of the night or something. I'd gone to like the again, like super hidden like sandwich shop or something, which is down in one of the sections of the hospital, and like we're trying to find my way out, and all I kept finding was like closed departments. So I'd walk down one corridor and end up in like, well, none of the lights are on here. I probably shouldn't be here.
Oh man, spooky.
Yeah.
They closed for like.
Well, I think they were like triage clinics or something, like, you know, for various things that they run appointments for during the day, but like there's no purpose at night, so they were all just shut down, and so all the lights were off, as you know, sensibly, and it's just like, oh, this clearly isn't money. Right. Yeah, I had a hard time, and I know they're constantly working on it for hospital, but like still, it's like difficult. More signage required. Perhaps just a lovely line on the floor to be like, this is the way out. Like, wherever you are, there's just a line on the floor that's like, go here.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that is done in hospitals, right? And it's not completely out of character.
No.
To have, like, lines on the floor.
I think I've definitely seen that in a few places. But...
Yeah. Need to upgrade. Well, that's the Zach review of Ipswich Hospital.
Yeah.
Hideously understaffed. They know it. I know it.
I don't know if they were understaffed. It seemed like there was an appropriate amount of staff most of the time.
Yeah, okay.
Although that is one more thing that does kind of suck about, and also feeds into the seeming disorganization of the nurses, is like the handover between shifts takes like an entire hour, and they're basically not responding to patients at all during that time because they have to, you know, explain everything that's going on to each other. Obviously, that's the actual reason. But it does just sound like they're just talking to each other just outside the room.
That is a long time, actually. That's longer than I would expect. Depends. I guess it depends how many patients each. Like, what's the nurse to patient ratio?
Yeah.
Like, which I guess in some departments is way bigger than others.
Also, there was one. This is much less of a complaint about hospitals in general, but like, I'm going to talk about this one dude. But like, there was this one nurse who was absolutely destroyed in like aftershave. Like, you could smell him walking past your bed.
Oh no!
And it was like, oh god, here he comes.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot worse smells in hospitals.
Yeah.
Maybe for some that's a nice relief, but
yeah. Oh my god. Do you think they were aware, or they just thought, "This is my"? Do you think they were owning it?
Yeah, probably.
This is my professional odor. Or we just didn't like it and was just trying to use it up. You know,
well,
just layer it on.
Or maybe they couldn't stand the smells of the hospital and they were trying to cover it up for themselves.
Oh, that's
possible. Maybe.
But then surely you just need a little dab on your mustache or whatever. And then...
Maybe.
I never have good reason to use any kind of aftershave stuff. Or what's it even called? Cologne.
Yeah.
Cologne.
Eau de parfum.
Yeah, I always think people are going to... Obviously, you want people to notice, but then they're going to be like, "Oh, you smell nice," and it's like that's kind of annoying.
Why do you smell nice? What are you trying to do?
Why? Yeah. Why are you trying to? Yeah, exactly. It's like, I felt like it. I don't know. Like even at a wedding or something, if I'm in a suit or something, I still don't put this stuff. Maybe I should do that.
Oh, I do sometimes. It depends what it is. It has to be like a proper event, which obviously there aren't that many of, unless you're like high society, I guess. But like, hi, come to my wine evening, yeah.
I will.
I mean, I will. Yeah, I'm not going to say no to a wine evening, but like,
and I'll wear aftershaves.
Yeah. I'll come schmooze with the with the mayor, I guess. I don't know.
Schmooze. I went to see New Order on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Because so it's a bit weird. My company has some relationship with some excuse me, other company that has a corporate box at the O2 Arena.
Oh, sweet.
And I was like, I thought it was like they booked the box, you know, to use it for entertainment. But when I got there, it's like that company's logo is on the door to the box.
Oh, wow.
So they have it like permanently.
It.
Yeah. So I said, and there was 2 spare tickets going. So I was like, yeah, I'll come along to New Order. A lot of people don't seem to have heard of New Order. I guess young people don't know what that is. Yeah, I know. I was like, I guess it's somewhat understandable, less well known than a lot of things. But I was like, Joy Division, and they're like looking at me with like blank faces. I'm like, you maniacs. So obviously, I went along. To be fair, the whole crowd, like a lot of them were like 40-year-old men in New Order t-shirts and stuff.
As you would expect, I guess. Yeah.
As you would expect. Yeah, I mean, they were big in the 80s. So, but yeah, so I was in this like corporate box, which was opposite like the stage at the O2 Arena. So you got in and you were like looking out on the giant crowd or whatever, which seemed pretty sold out, I think.
But you're a long way away, I guess.
Yeah, a long way away from the front. And I was in this smooth, cushy like corporate box, which was mostly empty, to be honest, and it had like a bar in it, and sipping champagne and stuff, and thinking, I think I'd rather be down there in the crowd, like actually close to the stage. I mean, it was very nice. But they were like, hey, let's have a nice time. Let's have a dance. Let's have a boogie. Let's entertain some clients. And I'm like, as soon as New Order start playing, they start playing a Joy Division song. I'm like, go like full Ian Curtis mode. You know, I'm like, I'm ashamed of the things I've been put through. I'm ashamed of the person I am. Stuff like that. So it's slightly different. I don't think a lot of them knew like a lot of the songs, like or how like heartfelt it, especially because like after when they came on for the encore, they did like basically a tribute to Ian Curtis and stuff like that. It's which was very sad and stuff. But it was really good. I mean, and they played Blue Monday and all that stuff. Well, of course they did. But I mean,
it would be an absolute travesty if they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, they got new stuff, like the new album's good, and they had a really good album in 2015, I remember.
But why wouldn't you? That's the thing. Like, just why wouldn't you? You got... Yeah. You know why people are there. Come on. You know why people are there. They want to be asked how they feel.
I mean, the final song they played was Love Will Tear Us Apart again. So, I mean, they know.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Yeah. So it was cool. And it's a giant arena, so you've got to do that, right? I suppose. But yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's something weird. Something about... I mean, I'm not a massive concert fan in general, just because... Yeah, I normally start critiquing every part of it, like, or being stamped on by or being annoyed by some other crowd person who just happens to be standing next to me.
That was the advantage of being in the... Yeah. If you're in the crazy box, you don't have that trouble.
But, like, I think you'd end up with the similar feeling by just being so far away. And, like,
it was a long way away.
Like you have one of those people, like, have to get out those little opera binoculars, like, on a stick.
Yeah,
just be like, yes.
I mean, there's screens and stuff, and you see all the audiovisual stuff and stuff, but it's not quite the same.
Which is probably how you enjoy most of Glastonbury anyway, I guess. Like, just watching a screen from miles away.
Well, I like to try... Well, with Glastonbury, I like to try and get at the front. But you have to be prepared, and, it's not easy. You have to be strategic about it. Like, I got close enough for Paul McCartney that I could see his face without having to look at the screen, quite clearly. But that was not easy. We were camping, Noel Gallagher and stuff for quite a few hours beforehand. But yeah, I'd rather be in the crazy crowd, like getting a bit squashed. I prefer that to being in the super luxury box right at the back.
Wearing people and your lack of fear.
Glasses wearing. I do wear glasses.
Do you wear them at Glastonbury? Because you don't wear them all the time, do you? Or have you swapped?
No, not always. But I did wear them then because I probably couldn't have seen Paul McCartney's face as well if I wasn't wearing my glasses.
Because I don't know, that's kind of been my thing. Like they've always been like when things have got really rough, they tend to get like a bit knocked off.
Yeah, I did bring a backup. I think I wore my old glasses to Glastonbury rather than my current ones.
Sure.
Which aren't that different in terms of the prescription, but I think they're almost the same, but they're just. I was just a bit worried that they would get hurt. Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely don't want it turning into a mosh pit. That's where I lost. That's where I've lost pets.
No, exactly. Well, it wasn't Download Festival.
Yeah,
it was Glastonbury. But I'm sure I've seen people with glasses in mosh pits, which is probably a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, unless you've got one of those like rubbishy straps around the back.
Well, my new thing is wearing I've seen people wearing what are essentially bum bags, but you wear them around over your chest, like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know those. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I could put the glass in the glasses case and zip them up, and then have it against your chest as you jump around.
Unless you're the chest bumping type, that's probably a bad idea. Well, hey, oh. Have I lost you? It's gone very quiet. Nobody likes chest bumping, apparently. Okay.
Like,
well, no, I mean, yeah,
it's a bit. Is it a bit bro for the UK? A chest bump,
maybe. Why? What would you recommend? Would you actually use it as a full-on bum bag? I'd be a bit worried that it would get knocked off or something.
Yeah, or someone just steal it from behind. Or
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do. Probably hang in the box.
Yeah, chill out with the champagne in the box in the back. Yeah.
More caviar, please.
Yeah.
Shall we move this in the video game kind of direction?
I mean, we're almost an hour in.
Okay, fair.
I will say my one like film and TV like spot.
Go on.
I've watched all of Secret Invasion now. Not that into it.
No. Really?
Yeah, not that into it.
You're not?
No.
Oh, that's what I expected. Okay, because I heard bad things. I haven't seen a single episode of Secret Invasion or Ahsoka. I have no interest.
It's not like it's not like it was awful. It's just it didn't. It felt like it was missing something the entire time. Like it didn't have a hook. Like even though the stakes seem large in this, like it's all of humanity again, there's a considerably more deaths in this than you might expect, including a key character or two. And you're just like, okay, like you're going for it, but there's no real meat to it. There's no real. You never feel behind it, and it's I don't quite know how or why really. It's just sort of it's missing a glue, some component that's just like important. It's a shame because like I don't think any one person in it is bad. Like I don't think Samuel L. Jackson is bad. I don't think Olivia Colman's probably the best thing in it because she's always the best thing in anything.
She's always the best thing.
Yeah, she's great. And it's just. I mean, Emilia Clarke. She's just doing what she does. It's nothing too unusual there.
No.
It's just missing something. It's doesn't really work as on the scale I think they intend it to. And that's a bummer. And it also like it writes things into like the MCU just seems to have a real talent at the moment for writing themselves into some really weird spots. Like, because the ramifications of this leaves one character as just like, the whole power creep problem that these things have. It's like they are running into that super fast. They're running headlong into it right now. I
mean, they already screwed out with Captain Marvel, like before the end of the Infinity War.
But they kind of then like. They almost get away with that by the fact that Captain Marvel is more interested in the fate of the rest of the universe, not just Earth.
Right, she's like, I'm busy, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, I can bugger off and do other things. It's like, and that kind of worked, but the end, without spoiling it, they've kind of written themselves back into that problem. Right now, and it's tricky. I don't know that they're working together. I don't know that the MCU, like you get that feeling from like, especially like phase 1 and 2 MCU that everything was working in harmony and it was all coming together towards common goals and working. And I just don't get that feeling anymore. It's all
No,
a bit scattershot. It's all a bit Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. not talking to Disney or whatever,
yeah, which is ironic because the whole point of the new wave of Disney Marvel TV show is it is
all under one hood. Yeah, it's not a splinter anymore. It's not Fox versus ABC, I think it was, versus Marvel Studios or whoever. There's a little bit of versus Sony still in the Spider-Man side of things. There's still that, but otherwise it's all under one hood, one roof now, and it just doesn't feel like it. It's strange. But then you get ones that sort of do work, like Ms. Marvel was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah,
but it was just fine. But it didn't. At least it didn't write itself into a problem. Like it had issues. Don't get me wrong. And it's like some of its core concepts seemed glossed over super fast to the point of irrelevancy. And but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's are they going through the Book of Boba Fett problem? Like is it all just going that way? Like
I think it might be time to cancel Disney Plus. I don't know what. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm still watching it. We've started watching The Bear. I think we may have mentioned that.
Right. Okay, that's pretty good.
The Bear. Yeah. We're only like 2 episodes in, but that's
yeah.
But it's an intense watch. But
it's intense, man. But it's pretty intense.
But I think I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
It's cool. I personally think the second series is a little over-egged. Okay. Because I'll tell you, but no spoilers, but the first season was a success and people like it. So the second season, anytime there's a new character or like someone playing someone from the family that you haven't seen before, it's always someone incredibly famous all of a sudden, which is kind of annoying.
It's riding its wave, right? And getting big cameos.
Exactly. So
that could be fine.
I mean, it's fine. Yeah, obviously they're good in it as well, but it's like, oh, who's this guy? The mother is Jamie Lee Curtis, I think.
Right.
Yeah, for example,
who turned up in a Lego ad recently? Really? That was surprising. Have you seen the Samuel L. Jackson Warburton's advert?
No, I mean I don't watch TV, so
I mean that's a good ad. I'm just putting it out there, like for a UK bread making family. That's a good ad. Get Samuel L. Jackson in to kick some doors.
That's what he's good at, shouting and kicking indoors.
Yeah, good stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much my TV.
Let us move on to video games, since that is nominally the subject.
I'm actually I watched some Ryder Cup highlights because that was
it's time for the sports section.
Yeah, you know what? That was actually entertaining. And there's something the four ball format sort of lends itself to TV a bit better. So it's
who's doing well, Europe or
Europe are kicking ass.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Although we're not really part of Europe anymore after Brexit.
They've got McIlroy, it's fine. Although he's Ireland, I guess, so that's not really.
Yeah, he's part of the EU.
Still not us.
Fine.
Yeah. I don't know if we've got any. Is there a good Brit golfer anymore?
Nick Faldo. No, I don't think there is.
You hear that, Britain? Get golf. What's happening in video games? Shall we do the news? Okay, let's do the news.
Let's do the news.
Insert news jingle in your heads now. Okay, now that that's done, there was a Nintendo Direct ages and ages ago. This is going to be a bit weird because obviously we're catching up with 3 weeks worth of news, so some of this we'll probably just gloss over. So we had that Nintendo Direct, which going into, there were a few rumors that we'd talked about previously that there was perhaps something F-Zero related and perhaps something Donkey Kong related coming, which got everyone a bit excited. So here's what actually happened. They are remaking Mario versus Donkey Kong, so it's not the thing everyone was hoping for, which is the much rumored the Mario team are working on a Donkey Kong game thing. So it's not that. It's not that.
Unless it is.
Unless it is that. Yeah, the Mario team aren't doing anything.
It's just the fake out.
Yeah. I mean that rumor could still be true, but the sort of leak leading into the Direct was not the big thing, right? It It was this
everyone
DLC.
had kind of assumed that theoretical game was going to be like Switch 2 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That it'll be like
going to be with the announcement of the new hardware. They're going to have the new Donkey Kong game, I guess.
Yeah, they'll do it as a launch title, presumably, just like they did with Switch and Mario Odyssey. And it's So yeah, if they're not going to announce the console, they're not going to announce this. So it's still to come. We got to see a little bit of Splatoon 3 Side Order, which is the upcoming proper DLC for Splatoon 3. Which looks like they're turning it into a roguelike, maybe? Or roguelite, with its weird, almost Nier Automata bright white aesthetic. So this looked like they took Salmon Run and were like, you know what? If we add some numbers to this, we can make it a roguelike. And I think I'm down for that. It looks cool. Because basically anything Splatoon does looks cool. So there's that. That Princess Peach game got a name. It's called Princess Peach Showtime. And it's out next year. And it looks a little bit like a baby game for babies, but whatever. That is fine.
What, like the Yoshi games?
Kinda, yeah. It's that sort of tier, I suppose. So sort of slightly easier platform adjacent, I guess, style games.
Or arguably the Kirby games, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe with less so that last one, but the other Kirby offshoots, I suppose. Yeah, that kind of tier. Luigi's Mansion 2 is getting an HD remaster for Switch. Probably a good idea, lifting it off the 3DS.
Yeah, that's nice.
Give it a bigger audience. And then we got the other rumour, the other leak confirmed. There is an F-Zero game, but it's F-Zero 99. Which is actually pretty rad.
But, yeah, is this testing the waters to see if people like F-Zero?
I mean, a lot of people are theorising that, but I'm not so sure. This is probably just Ninty doing something with an IP that they thought might be a good idea, or the 99 team, whoever is behind that, probably just needed another idea, and this was we can leverage this IP and make something work. Yeah, it's probably not I don't think, as much as I would love it to be, I don't think it is a precursor to more F-Zero content. It's 20 years down the line, it's just easy to be skeptical, right?
Yeah.
God, it has, but yeah, it's been 20 years since F-Zero GX, man.
Yep.
What a game! And Thousand Year Door is also getting a remaster.
Oh, that's nice, because that's not been very accessible, has it?
No, I mean, it's GameCube exclusive.
It's a GameCube game, that's pretty accessible for
Nintendo
but stuff.
I mean, it's pretty accessible in the sense that it would emulate real good.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, fair.
But yeah, they're giving it a little touch up. All the sprites are sharpened up a little bit. It's
I don't know if I necessarily like the enhanced. They're trying to make it look more like paper, and I'm not sure that's what I want. I don't think I ever wanted Paper Mario to be actually paper, which is why the later ones with Sticker Star and Origami King. It was this is leaning a bit too hard into that aesthetic. It's it was never about paper.
What, you mean the photorealistic lemons? You weren't really into that?
Well, I mean, that's a different situation.
You mean it was more about being flat than it was about being physically paper?
Yeah, it was just I mean, they did some papery mechanics, you turn into a paper airplane or whatever.
Yeah, and you go thin, and you go, and staircases whap over like paper, and
it never had to be about when it got into Origami King and stuff. It was this and Sticker Star and whatever the other one was called, Color Splash, where it's this is more about the concept of papercraft than it just being a weird aesthetic of a Mario game.
Right, which they only really did for. Was it, I guess, the first 3 of these, I guess you could say, were not really about the papercraft. They just used it a little bit. Because even Super Paper Mario wasn't really it wasn't really about the paper very much. No. Yeah, I can see what you mean. They probably could have happily just been a riff on 2D, right? And it would still be the same
game underneath, so it's fine.
Yeah.
In this one specific case, it's totally fine. It's just a slight aesthetic change.
And they picked the right one to redo, right? I guess they could have gone back and done
the first one.
Yeah, it might have been nice, because probably going back to the N64 one is probably harder than the others, just because of the. But did they put that on NSO?
I don't remember.
If Paper Mario is turned up on NSO, then they probably feel like they don't need to because it's there.
Well, I think if they went back to the first one, it would be more like they'd have to actually do some remake effort and actually like change it a bit.
Yeah, maybe there's more effort there. Yeah.
I don't think people would enjoy. I don't think people who did already enjoy that game before would enjoy it as much as like Thousand Year Door for the first time.
Because Thousand Year Door's a stone cold classic. There's no denying it. It's up there. It's high tier. Fat pipes.
Are they gonna? Do those jokes all still work?
Yeah,
or it's technically probably not. Does anyone understand what fat pipes even means any longer?
I hope that still carries. I hope that's still there and unchanged. I think that would still work. That would still work.
It would still work for us because we won't know what it means.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's a little less memeified now, but anyway, so it's good to see that coming. But yeah, basically just topped off what was, I guess, that's the feeling of that direct.
Well, I mean, it was like a September direct. It was like it's not the E3 direct or anything.
Yeah,
it's
but also
not the January direct where they usually do the bigger stuff.
Well, yeah, but it means there isn't really a big holiday game this year. Really,
there hasn't been for like the last 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, is that true? Yeah, I don't know. I've got another note here just because it made me laugh. Like, okay, there's a terribly named game called Unicorn Overlord, which seems to be another sort of RPG-like game. But it had my favorite bit of this whole direct, where it's just like, and here is your base of operations called the headquarters, and it's like specifically called out the fact that your base of operations is called the headquarters, and had a call out on screen and everything. It's like, didn't really need to explain that. It's like, I don't know, it just made me laugh. Like pointless information. Pointless Nintendo being Nintendo and over-explaining everything.
Was that even a Nintendo game, though?
No, it's not. It's a third-party game, and I think it's coming to other platforms as well, so it's a bit weird that it got that much attention. But, yeah, you got to support your partners, I guess. Yeah, so that was that. Probably soon after, I guess, the Nintendo Direct, I don't know if it was roughly around the same time, Unity decided to
fucking forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. Accurate.
Oh boy, was this a mistake. Although we probably should have seen it coming, because guess who's currently head of or a big player in Unity right now? Our old friend John Riccatello, the guy that was running EA when they decided to loot box the crap out of everything.
Okay.
Not a particularly good influence on video games, one might argue.
Supposedly he'd already been making bad decisions at Unity way before this. Well, not really bad decisions, maybe just saying bad things that people...
Well, that also doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
I understand corporate people being like, how do we monetize? But they have to ask, how do we monetize in a way that doesn't fuck up the entire product and make us completely fold?
How do we do it in the worst possible way and reveal it with so many holes and caveats and mistakes that just...
Well, yeah. It just seems like they didn't even think about it at all somehow.
No,
it seems
right. It seems
really obvious questions that as soon as you hear the concept, and their answers were just non-answers.
Yeah. So
they don't have any information to give you in this answer.
So we should probably explain the thing. So this is all about the Unity runtime fee, where the idea is they were going to switch to a model. Every 3D engine, every sort of middleware has a cost, and I think the big ones like Unity and Unreal Engine, they basically operate on some sort of revenue share model historically, where it's like, if you do well, then a certain amount of the game profits have to be paid back to us. And it's kind of all it feels a little bit harsh, but on some level, yeah, they can do that because without them, what do we have in the video game world? We have people designing their own engines. We have Frostbite, I guess. And so, yeah, they're already in a position of power. So the runtime fee is an abuse of that in the sense that they wanted to switch from that style of model to a let's charge the developer every time a game is installed, which immediately, even without going into the minutiae of the details and like trying to fathom it out, just that statement alone is so problematic, because you only have to look to like just glance a little bit to the side and look at free to play and go, oh, this is bad. Because how many free to play games do people install and never pay money for? Like, probably loads.
Well, but the whale economy for free to play is fucked anyway. So, like,
well, exactly, but
wouldn't matter that much.
But it's quite. I think there's quite an offset, right? I think between, like, I don't know. There's plenty of free to play games that I have played and will never sink money into, but will continue to play because I'm that way inclined. It's just who I am, right?
Yes, but I don't think you can't extrapolate an entire market from that.
No,
like,
no, just
don't represent.
No,
a high percentage of the market.
I get it, but I don't think I'm alone. And it's like free to play games have an inherent demo like quality in that people can just download them and try them, right? Think of it, like, especially in the mobile space, right? If you think about Genshin Impact and something like that, which is based on Unity, I think, and is also it's a mobile game. It's an every platform game. People are more likely to just go, I'm just going to download this, have a look. Oh no, that is really not for me. But that still counts as a runtime fee in Unity's eyes, or it did. So it's like that. A lot of sort of middle tier studios were suddenly like getting super panicky and being like, you know what? Like if with the costs you're putting out here and the way you're describing this would sink us. Like our products would no longer be profitable. But it got worse in the sense that, okay, they were kind of trying to retroactively apply this cost. So like to products that are already out and using a specific version of Unity, they were going to try and start recouping this extra fee from those, which is like, no, how? Like it's an abuse of like the terms of service. That little note that's in like almost all like license agreements or things like that, saying we can change our terms of service at any time, and it's like they did, and they did it big, and it's like, but I reckon if anyone like really kicked up a fuss, they could quite easily take that element to court and be all like, well, this is not what we agreed to, and this is a significant change in the contract that nobody agreed to, blah 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 blah. I don't reckon that would ever have stood legally. But I'm not an expert. What do I know? But anyway, the problem with that is that now developer trust is so low, so very low.
Yeah. They're like, why would you choose to start out making a huge game or any kind of game, big project on this engine?
Yeah,
that could
on a platform that now has a pretty significant history, even if it's just one event. It's a one big event of being able to screw you over, and like video games is already a risky business. There's no denying that, and it's yeah.
I mean, it is. Yeah,
It just is, and it's like minimizing that risk is a big part of being who you are, and choosing Unity might have been one of the things you would have done to minimize that risk, because I think it's a little bit cheaper than Unreal Engine and stuff like that. So like it would have been a cost management might have seen that as a risk reduction, but yeah, it's hard to see how that's favorable now. Unreal and like people have been talking about Godot as another third party engine a lot recently. Like, they must be absolutely like just slapping their hands together and going thanks, because they're gonna get a whole bunch of new business, I bet. So yeah, that's kind of the gist. Well, no, actually, there was a third pillar that I haven't really even touched upon, which was the how on earth do you bloody measure this? That they were so vague about. They said, "Oh, we're going to have like AI algorithms to figure this out," and then which immediately threw everyone into, "Well, we don't trust that."
Right? Yeah.
It's like, given that you've just pulled this shit on us, and now you're saying it's like, "No, we've got an algorithm to figure it out," and it's like, "No, you don't." It feels like it was like the Riccatello and the marketing guys were just like, "Here's a tech problem we need to solve. Let's just announce it to everyone, and we'll figure it out later."
And that was one of the things that they specifically ended up walking back when they walked back most of the stuff.
Yeah.
Because like originally they were basically saying, we're going to come up with some numbers and then you pay us. And then they eventually walked it back to like, you tell us the numbers and then you pay us from the numbers that you tell us.
Yeah, so and they came up,
which is obviously the way it should have always been done, but the fact that they thought the other way was going to work was ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like so many developers were open to like, well, okay, it's only going to take like a couple of bad actors to figure out how to game that system, and then Steam review bombs were a thing. What's going to stop people from Unity revenue bombing people out of existence? Like it was nuts. It was a nuts idea. They have the follow up to all of this is like, yes, they have significantly walked back whatever the hell it was that they were planning. They're still going to have something called the runtime fee, which is probably a bad idea in the first place. Just don't call it that. You should have changed the name. But they're going to try and it's self-reported, so similar to a revenue share model where you kind of have to share information with Unity anyway to make that work. It's up to the developers to share information about how well their game is doing, based on reliable metrics, or there's some definition of new engagement or something. So they are trying to still capture new players as a thing they can charge for. And there's some detail around that, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. Don't trust me on that. So they're still trying to follow that get a little bit of cash per install, but not nearly in a significant as way. And they've also added more limits that it would like you'd have to be making revenue past a certain threshold for this to even apply, rather than it applying to everyone. They've also rolled back the whole retroactive thing, so it's only going to apply from the next version of Unity that they release, the next LTS version of Unity, I should say. Long-term service release. If you're building a game on the current release of Unity, you are fine. That's not actually, this isn't going to affect you. Which they really should have done from the start. That's a no-brainer. If you're going into a development project with a certain set of like expectations, it's like you shouldn't have been forced to change that. So most people seem relatively happy with the walk back, although I'm a little bit, I don't know, I still think that's a bit of a scummy move.
Well, I mean, it's like every walkback ever, where it's
it's true.
You bring on the conspiracy theories where it's like they announce the shit version so they can walk it back to the less shit version, and then people will be happy. Yeah,
and this was the plan all along, so you could still agree to paying them more money, just not as much money as it initially seemed.
I think it's usually a cock up, in my opinion.
I don't think it's ever a conspiracy theory, because that's what conspiracy theories are.
No, because
exactly,
because the brand damage here is so significant. I think they're going to be feeling this for a long, long time.
Yes, that definitely seems to be like the main thing. Like they definitely have actually screwed themselves.
Yes,
I mean,
for sure.
They're going to have to. Personally, I think they need to fire their marketing department super publicly for anyone to even like have a hint of like any kind of like feelings of like, oh, do they know what they've done? It's just. God, it must be so frustrating to be like an actual like developer, like working at Unity right now and being like, because Unity might not be the Unreal of the game engine world, but hey, it's widespread, it's popular, it's multi-platform in the right ways. Generally, it's it's good. It's good. It's a good engine, a good marketplace, and it's must be so frustrating if you're one of the peons at Unity right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Righto.
Well, yeah, I wonder if that's what they've all of this has lowered them to. It's like, we just do what we're told. Yeah.
Life of a peon.
Yeah. What a cock up.
Yeah. Catastrophic cock up.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see some new third party.
I wanted to know if this was going to screw up the Hollow Knight, but I think there's still no word on when that's actually going to come out.
I bet they're probably fine, because everyone was like highlighting that as one of like the big profile Unity games that could be screwed by this, and it's like, well, no, with the new walk back, they're not screwed by this, because they'd be so late in development now that updating the Unity version would be out of the question at this point.
No, definitely, yeah.
So Silksong will be fine. It's fine, guys. It's fine. If it comes out this year. So that's Unity. Let's move on to FTC and Microsoft. So everyone's calling this the leak, but I don't know. I find it a little bit hard to call this a leak. Like, I suppose it was unintentional. Like, and I guess that's what a leak might. Well, leaks are sort of intentional, I suppose. But like, supposedly the FTC, they have to reveal what documents they've been working with. But most of the time, they get heavily redacted. A few things did not. Like, a few things they sort of forgot about seems to be the how this happened. I guess easily done if they've got hundreds of things to look through and they just forgot to get the black marker pen out for a couple of them, or pages stuck together in a digital sense. I don't know. One of the big ones was we got to see Microsoft's internal roadmap for Xbox. These are several years old, all these documents at this point. I think some of these dated back to like pre-COVID times, to the point where like I think some of it can be taken with a little bit of skepticism as to whether or not it will sit right now. But how much do plans really change when you're trying to move a ship as big as Xbox around? So, for instance, coming up probably within the next year is a Series X and Series S refresh. To be clear, they're not talking about pro versions of the consoles. They're just talking about like an iteration, I guess, like how the 360 evolved.
Yeah.
So we'll get
different form factor.
Yeah. So there was a mock-up of the Series X that was no longer a fridge. It's now a cylinder. Which, good luck putting that on its side, I suppose, unless they release some kind of stand like the PlayStation for holding it horizontally.
They probably will, yeah.
Which is codenamed Brooklyn. Digital only. They're getting rid of the Blu-ray drive. And intend to make it more economical to produce and be more economical in terms of power load. So good things, other than the removal of the drive, I suppose. But then if you're on Game Pass, who uses a drive?
Do you use the drive on your...
I use it rarely. I've got a few things that I have a physical disc for. And if I want to go back and play the backwards compatible games, you need the disc to verify that you own them, unless you own a digital copy. So...
well, they'll have to have an answer for that then, won't they?
They probably won't. They'll probably be like, buy the previous gen or buy the game again. I don't know. How would they do it?
I guess.
Because I technically have Panzer Dragoon Auto installed on my Series X, but I need the disc to validate it. But
this straight up means it's no longer backwards compatible then, I guess. Yeah.
Well, no, it still is.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff is available digitally, like on the various storefronts.
So if you bought it on the previous generation, then you can play it. But if you bought it physically, then you can't.
Some OG Xbox games are on the current Xbox store, so you can like buy those. But I don't think it's the full list of back compat games, if that makes sense. So there's still ways to get a bunch of the library, just not everything. And they never supported everything anyway, because back compat, right? It never did the whole library. So anyway, the same thing applies to Series S. They're going to make a more sustainable version of that console. I don't think looked any different. But yeah, just a hardware revision. There's going to be a new controller that seems to be trying to get in on the PS5 act a little bit. It's called Sibile. I don't know, with some haptics and some onboard speakers, a rechargeable battery, and an accelerometer. So pretty much every bullet point that the PS5 has, other than the touchpad, I guess. All coming.
Okay, well that could be cool.
It could be cool, but it also like potentially problematic, right? Because the console didn't launch with it. So are they creating a have and have nots? And they can't necessarily design games around it potentially. But it would be nice if you had it, which I guess most third-party game makers have to do anyway, right? Because if they're making it for PS5, they're probably making it for Xbox, and so it's do they care? Anyway, that's coming. That's all scheduled in for probably the next year or so. On their roadmap was talk of a handheld of some description. There was no more information than that, but whatever it is or whatever it would be, probably a Game Pass streaming device. is not yet funded for development, or wasn't funded at the time of this document, so it's not actually in active development, it's just an idea. And that the next generation of console is due in 2028. So we've got another 5 years of these guys. We're 3 years in, and we've got another 5 to go.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I've got no real complaints with the current generation. It's like, sure, they can't ray trace like a PC can, but like I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not missing the power here just yet.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is still like, what power is the Switch 2 going to have? Because that is curious. Yeah, I mean, if it can come anywhere even vaguely close to this generation of consoles, it would be insane.
Well, if it can be Steam Deck like, you know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Other little tidbits. A little bit of Bethesda's upcoming game lineup was in one of these documents, in that they were planning an Oblivion remaster. So, you know, not that Skyrim, that Oblivion, that one before.
Oh god, what if they just put Oblivion into the creation engine? Like, it's just pull that format with Oblivion on it.
Oh man, that's probably what they would do. They would probably take.
Probably,
yeah. There's a new Doom coming called Doom Year Zero, or at least that's what its internal name is. A Dishonored 3 is in the works, as is a sequel to Ghostwire Tokyo. So, leak, I guess, on all of those. None of those have been announced. And the one a lot of people have like dived into was this like this email between Phil Spencer and someone else internally. Again, I think from like 2019-ish. So before the Activision Blizzard thing was begun, and I think actually before the Bethesda deal, actually to a certain extent, because they was. I think this was somewhat informal discussion. So, but everyone seems to think, oh no, this is real. This is totally real. And it's like, no, I think it's just them doing their jobs, and that is looking at companies that they might want to buy or might want to acquire at some point. It's just biz dev. But anyway, like the takeaways from this was that they were looking at Valve as a possible acquisition. They were looking at Warner Brothers as a possible acquisition. ZeniMax and Bethesda hadn't happened yet, so they were looking at that. But the big thing that Phil was talking about was like, hey, the asset for us to have is Nintendo. And then basically went on to say, but that's not going to happen because Nintendo has sat on so much money that they are never going to part with.
Of course,
with that, like, yeah, it's never going to happen. Like, I don't know. Phil's opinion was, it's just like, oh, Nintendo could be so much more if they weren't just limited to their own hardware. And it's like, well, you're probably right, but also as a company, they're not gonna. They're just not gonna. They don't need to. So yeah, I think everyone sort of blew that up a little more than perhaps necessary. It's just
it was warranted.
It's just biz dev people doing what they do. It's if you ask me, they should be asking those questions. Otherwise, they're not doing their job. Alrighty, that's the leaky stuff. In other corporate news, Sega are restructuring their European portfolio and studios, which never sounds great. As part of that, the most high-profile game to be cancelled is one that Creative Assembly were working on. I say high-profile because I'd never heard of it. A multiplayer shooter called Hyenas that was apparently like pretty much done, like ready to go out the door, almost, and that's been like fully cancelled. It will never see the light of day. It was done like betas and stuff like that. It was that far along in development, but they have decided that's not a thing, and as a result, Creative Assembly are probably going to lose some stuff. So that's always a bummer. I don't know. It's the weird sort of like other side of Creative Assembly, right? Because have they actually done anything else other than Total War and then that one foray into Alien Isolation?
Yeah,
because Alien Isolation was good,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was well good. Yeah, that was a strange one-off. That was obviously a passion project, but it was interesting. They managed to make a modern first-person game.
Yeah, a horror one at that, and and with stealth elements, and not necessarily my type of game, but I did play my way through all that thing, and it was I could appreciate it at least. So there's that. Hideki Kamiya is leaving Platinum Games. You know, the Bayonetta guy. Who I don't know. Like, wasn't he saying that like Bayonetta 3 and there was just, you know, there's more written in and planned for that series, and it's like, okay, maybe there isn't now. Maybe.
Well, unless he's about to become internal Nintendo.
I mean, maybe, I guess, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Bayonetta 3 wasn't all that. And it pains me to say that. It's just, the more I think about that game, the more bummed I am a little bit by it. And it's given how much of a fan I was of the first two.
I mean, it was okay, but
yeah, it's not a terrible game, not by a stretch, but it's just.
But you were pretty hype, and yeah,
I was super hype, and as I say, those first two games just blew me away. And it's like, so I was kind of expecting that again, and I didn't really enjoy their new directions, and I didn't as much as the previous games, and I wasn't, you know, I wasn't sold on the choices they made to make it run a bit poorly on Switch. They were just weird choices. So there's that. And carrying on the bad news, Epic, the other game engine, are firing a whole 16% of their staff, which must be a friggin' enormous number.
Yeah. What a huge company.
Yeah, it's massive. And it's like, yeah, it's not just the Unreal Engine, it's across all their game studios, it's across everything that the Epic own. So it's
fire all the people who run the store.
God.
Hey, that thing is serviceable now.
Yep.
I think, did you know, not only did you know that Epic bought Bandcamp, did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
I think they're selling it.
Wow.
Yeah, as part of this, which is fair enough.
Are they selling harmonics?
Oh, good question.
Because they own that, don't they? I think everyone thought their intent was to bring more music-y stuff potentially into Fortnite.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see on my Twitter timeline, because a friend of mine used to work for Mediatonic, and I think they've been hit pretty hard, it seems.
Yeah.
Which is sad times.
The weird studio to pick, right? Because, like, isn't Fall Guys... Oh, how big is Fall Guys these days?
Yeah, well, pretty big, I think. But they did seem to transition studio into basically a content machine for Fall Guys, right?
Sure, yeah.
But now
it's a popular live service game. Why wouldn't you dive into that?
Yeah, I guess.
They must have had multiple teams, right? Because they must have been making Fall Guys alongside Murder by Numbers and the other stuff going on.
But I think Murder by Numbers wrapped up, and certainly, obviously...
Yeah, that's not an ongoing game. It never was going to be.
That's not a Fall Guys type level game. It's cool though. Check it out.
Yeah, it's been meaning to. Get some Picross action.
Yeah. So good luck to everyone from Epic looking for game for employment.
For a week. Yeah.
Because they can't be employed in Unity any longer.
No, they're not going to want to go there, are they? Yeah, I wonder how many engine guys it really is, and they're gonna move to a smaller engine, or go work on Frostbite or whatever the Unity one is. What is not Unity, the Ubisoft one? Isn't it also some kind of cold thing?
Yeah, what is that?
Is it
called?
like Frostbite or like Cold Bunch or something? Just
I'm gonna Google it. Anvil. Yeah.
No, that's not the one I was thinking of. I think there's another one, another Ubisoft internal engine that's got a funny name. But
Snowdrop.
Snowdrop, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. The thing that powers the Division.
Yeah. And I'm sort of weirdly quite optimistic about the new Assassin's Creed game. I think I might actually want to play it.
Well, yeah, the smaller scope is appealing.
Yeah, and I think the kind of Baghdad setting looks cool, and I like the idea of it going back to basics. So we will see. But I mean, stay tuned for that one.
Zelda aside, a bit of me always finds when I hear the hour count of what a game might be, if it's too big, a bit of me sort of recoils these days, and it's I don't know. People have been saying that RPG Sea of Stars is real good, and you should play it. And then it's well, yeah, but it's still 40 hours long, and it's oh god, right?
Yeah.
Also on Game Pass, so I've got technically no excuse other than it's long, and there's a billion games to play.
Zelda to finish before the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, maybe
if I want to.
If we want to,
maybe it'll be another Breath of the Wild
on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe it'll be another Breath of the Wild for me, and I'll just never finish it.
What else has been released? Counter-Strike. There's a second one.
Counter-Strike 2 happened. Yeah,
amazing. We know Valve can counter 2, so they did it.
I mean, technically, it is just CS:GO, just with a new lick of paint. Really?
Yeah.
Because you can't play CS:GO anymore. CS:GO has transitioned into this. It's not like it's a separate entry in there.
It's just a rebranding.
Yeah, it's a rebrand and a reskin. And I was playing a little bit of it earlier today. What you been playing?
Yeah. What you been playing?
Yeah, it is exactly that. I mean, there are some changes. There are some interesting changes to it. Like, it is for the most part the same game. Some levels have had way more. It feels like some levels have had way more of an aesthetic uplift than others. To the point where some levels are like, I had a real time like being like, oh, I can't quite remember this level with its new lick of paint. It's like I don't play CS all that much, but it's like there were certain elements where it took me a while to get back into the swing of it because I just forgot like the new aesthetic was just enough to push me off. But they're saying that they've updated all the graphics and stuff like that. It's not, but not to the point where it's like it's going to be stressing PCs outright. They still want as many players in it as possible. So it's a tasteful uplift. There's more. There a glow up, I suppose, where bits of the UI actually do glow a bit now. It's
a literal glow up.
Yeah, there's a few places where they've put it. I ran into some trouble with it, like setting it up because it had lost all my settings for my mouse control. Like all my sensitivity was wrong. And invert had gone and stuff like that. But most things carried over. My brother was saying like, we had the exact opposite problem where his mouse settings carried over, but everything else had gone. I guess your mileage will vary. Your mileage will vary. Your mileage.
That's a classic.
Proper spoilerism. That's a good one. So like pay attention before going into a match, I guess. It's all right. It's some modes are missing, which is a bummer because I used to like playing gun game just to dick around in it whilst waiting for Kippers to finish a match or something. So it's a shame that those modes are gone. I tried matchmaking into just a standard ass deathmatch game because that is still there, and it didn't. I left it for like quarter of an hour and it just didn't. So some things aren't working right. Like any game launch ever, I suppose. I kind of expected more from Counter-Strike. But anyway, all your gear carries over. It's not like they've got rid of anything in terms of the skins and stuff. You can still have your ridiculous money knife.
The money knife.
A money knife. If you want an expensive money knife, CS is still your place. Yeah. The most interesting
knife, and you don't even know it.
The most interesting thing I noticed was the change to the smoke grenades, which they did make a little bit of a hoo-ha about. It's like it's now kind of a volumetric effect rather than just a sort of grey fog box, I guess. And it is interesting because you can now see bullet trails through the fog a little bit. Like it will leave a sort of wake behind bullets, and you can shoot holes in it to an extent. So like the bullet trail, like behind, shoot at the edges of the smoke, you can actually carve holes into it a little bit, and it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure that it's working quite right because I was. In the small amount of time I've played, I have been what the game calls basically it reports when you've been shot through smoke or through an object, and I've been getting quite a lot of through smoke headshots made on me. So like either I was right on the edge of the smoke, or right through the middle. It's been a little unclear because that's just the nature of the game. But I feel like that's been happening a lot in the short amount that I played. I even had one that was through an object through the smoke, which must have been totally luck. But
yeah,
but still, so that's the interesting part. It's like otherwise it seems like a fairly solid fairly solid reskin. But bring back Gun Game, goddammit. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm sure they will, right? It'll just take them time, I guess.
So yeah, that was the segue game done. You can now host the section as you will.
Rob, what have
Yes?
you been playing?
I just want to point out,
Just
by the
pause
way,
there for a moment.
that we do have like an actual time limit on this.
Oh,
Not
do we?
just from the podcast getting real long, but I strictly have to leave to eat at a certain point due to the timing of the
Okay,
picks.
well, maybe
Okay.
we should go with you then, Zach. What have you been playing?
Well, luckily I don't have much to say. There was a week in hospital, but we had that. That was extra.
That was
apart from the 2
extra.
weeks.
Do you have your Switch with you?
No, I decided not to do that.
Oh.
I mean, it's only 3 hours battery life anyway. Well, it's not even 1 day.
Can you not plug it in on a hospital bed anywhere? I guess not. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could have dug out a USB-C cable or whatever, I guess. From where, I don't think I had one.
Oh, do you just always put it in the dock? Or
Yeah, I don't have a separate cable for my Switch. It's always just docked.
Right, and I guess if you're like, I don't know, if you had a modern phone, you'd have a cable and a charger.
Yeah.
That would probably work quite happily.
But yeah, I decided that it was, and also, maybe don't bring all your expensive shit into a hospital.
Well, yeah.
Security is not high in general.
I guess. Yeah.
They make you sign certain paperwork that's like, we're not responsible if all your shit gets nicked, but we will, well, I guess it's like the paperwork implies that they will be responsible for shit that gets nicked, but only if you specifically tell them exactly what it was beforehand. You can't retroactively say that your shit got nicked. You have to declare everything beforehand.
Interesting.
And even then, it's going to be super unspecific. Where it's like, do you have a phone?
Yeah.
It's just like, what does that even mean?
3DS.
You're going to get 50 quid back. Regardless of what type of phone it is.
Sure. I mean, a 3DS might be a shout in there. Then maybe if not all the way to Switch.
Well, yeah, I suppose. A cheaper old device.
Yeah. Go retro.
But anyway, I didn't do that. And then, apart from that, I mean, we've just recently started playing Avorion again in multiplayer, which really we're just, again, as usual, we're just redoing stuff that we've already done, getting back to the same point that we got to before.
Sure. Remind me what that is.
It's a space game where you build the ships, in a editor type thing, where you have to fit all the components in, but it's block based, I guess. It's sort of Space Engineers-y kind of way, except it's less physical than Space Engineers, because in Space Engineers it's like you're first person, so you actually have to be able to walk around inside the ships or whatever. Whereas in this, it's more like you're just building a Lego model of a ship or whatever, and it just has to include certain blocks to make it function. Yeah. And you can be as fancy as you want, really, because you can just build a cube and put guns on it if you want. As long as that cube contains all the correct ratio of the important blocks.
I mean, space, I guess. It's fine.
Yeah. But that's one of those things where it's just like, you can spend as long as you want doing the design part. If you want to make something look incredibly fancy, you can spend many hours just designing a cool ship. Or you can just make a box.
Yeah.
And my general tactic is sort of in the middle of those two. Where I'll lay out all the important system blocks first in a vague shape that I think I want the ship to be, and then just sort of attach hull around the outside to make it into a ship. So my current ship is kind of like a sort of L shape where the front hangs down and it has ridges and stuff on the outside. But in reality, that L shape is where the cargo bay is, because that's where that was the biggest block of that ship was where the cargo bay had to be, and then all the other important systems stick out the back, so they're protected from fire from the front, because that's an important thing. Some amount of directional armor going on. But yeah, we've been messing around in that again. And that game, I think since we last played, because it's still, I don't know if it's early access again, as always, because I never know whether these games are early access, but it's been updated. And one of the things that is really kind of annoying about this game in particular is the way they're doing DLC for a game that may or may not actually be finished or whatever. But the annoying part about it is that they have the DLC integrated into the base game, except it's almost like an in-game advert where like you'll find missions that you can't do because it will say, "Oh, you need the DLC." It's just like that's a real ass move.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So probably don't do that.
Definitely.
In fact, it's actually even worse when you like find a like a gun or something you can't use because it's DLC. It's like, why does it even drop then?
Oh, what? Oh, that is really annoying. They like try. Yeah. Is it at least presented in some kind of in-world way where it's like, oh, you don't have the fingerprint recognition hacker or whatever, so you can't use this. I
think it's just like you just can't use it, and then it says buy the DLC.
So that sucks because surely that must impact the drop rates of things.
Yeah, exactly. And like surprisingly, but maybe not surprisingly, I was looking in the mods like in the workshop to see if there was just a mod that would disable all the like DLC adjacent content to just take it out, but there wasn't one, and I was like, so I can understand why there wouldn't be one because surely the developer wouldn't want that to exist because otherwise how are they going to advertise their DLC? It's sure. Like I bet that mod probably did exist and got deleted a bunch.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
How dare you undermine our marketing? How dare you?
Yeah. And then the only other thing I've been playing is trying to keep up with Deep Rock through several like seasonal events have been happening, like Oktoberfest and summer, and I mean that's going back a bit, but yeah, trying to keep up with that and progress the actual season towards. Well, I say towards the end, but who knows? They're apparently Ghost Ship are about to do a fairly significant live stream on like October the 5th where they're going to mainly talk about all the other shit that they're publishing now that they are a publisher.
Right, yeah.
But there's also going to be a bit about Deep Rock, so we'll see whether that's going to be like a season 5 teaser or whatever.
Maybe. Given their previous cadence, that might seem a little early. Unless they're trying to step it up, which would be good.
Well, yeah, it's like either you want them to step it up, or like the fact that season 4 was sort of light on content might have given them more time to put more stuff towards season 5, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't as big a thing as 3 was.
I mean, with 5, we are expecting a whole new thing in the same way we had robots in 1 and 2 and plague in 3 and 4.
Yeah, some new concept would be good.
So we'll see about that. But yeah, I definitely haven't hardcore managed to grind the season pass or whatever yet.
Sure.
Mainly because I keep getting sucked into all these goddamn seasonal events and their assignments, where it's like, that's far too many assignments. There was a period where I couldn't even like play. Well, I could, but I didn't want to play like 2 of the dwarfs because they were waiting on promotion assignments because I was stuck doing other assignments for like seasonal
the real ones. Yeah.
It's just like there's far too many missions. I'm starting to think like I might have to force myself to actually learn to like just leave shit behind. Like when you're doing a mining mission and you want more kite, just get as much as you need and just leave.
Yeah.
I think I might have to start forcing myself to actually do that.
Yeah, because it doesn't really gain you a huge amount, does it, going over on the regular materials, on the actual target materials?
Yeah, it's just like a little bit of extra experience or whatever.
Like it's always gold and the like rare minerals you're after, but like everything else, not that.
Yes, which again I've also been super short on because it's just like I've got like I don't know 10 overclocks waiting to be crafted because I'm so short on minerals and materials. I mean materials and money. So like I can't afford to craft all these overclocks, and I'm still trying to buy everything out of the regular store, although I'm only using Phasionite for that.
Yeah, need to find some gold bulk detonators, of course.
I saw one of them the other day, but it was an mission that I failed immediately.
No, that's annoying.
It was like an on-site refining, and I don't know how that went so badly, but I just like went down like 3 times immediately, and it was like, well, fuck this mission. I guess I'm not going to get that. Although getting a gold bulk detonator on-site refining sucks anyway, because you have to haul the gold back to the goddamn rig.
Yeah, because you don't have the mule. Yeah. I introduced some more players to the board game. So some of my running crew, they're into it. The board game is a success. We only partially succeeded though, so this was the first time things went a bit wrong. It was all good until the end, and then we ran out of time became a real problem.
Right.
Yeah, it was real easy on us at the start, and then got difficult at the end. But that board game's real good. I want to shout out to they've launched the Kickstarter for their expansions already.
Yeah.
Which looks super cool, but they're really expensive. Like nearly €100 each, and there's 2 of them. Like one of them like adds biomes and new enemies, which is there are some more cave pieces and more enemies to fight. Good stuff because it like helps randomize the experience a bit more. And the other one is is the Space Rig pack, which is arguably more interesting, but only if you've got a hardcore crew to play the game with regularly, because it basically turns it into like the video game, and that there's progression, and you drink, you gain your resources, and then you can spend them on like beers and permanent upgrades, and but it also does introduce like 2 more mission types. So on-site refining and the drill dozer escort mission will be added as mission types, and all the stuff that comes with it, and all the cool little miniatures and things like that. So they are significant upgrades, but when they're nearly the same price as the base game. They're nearly as expensive as the base game, and that's. Oh, I want them so bad, but also that's too much. That's too much. There's a few mini expansions that are also like £30 each. So there's the Goo Bombers one they had before, and they've added Bulk Detonator as an enemy you can get, and it's massive. It's like the box is just one big miniature that you just in the middle. It looks rad as hell, but it's just yeah, there's that, and a few more enemies in one of the other packs. So it's yeah, I mean, the whole board game is cool, but like the price of it is now a bit much. I might get one of the mini things, but if you're a newcomer, now's the time, because the Kickstarter also includes like being able to get in on buying the base game, the same version of the base game that I have anyway. So they're making more of that. So if you're interested, now's your chance. Proceed. That was my little segment.
Well, that's all I played. So now I think Dan needs to talk about Zelda.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while for me.
I don't know if we have time to talk about more Zelda stuff.
We've got a while.
Let's skip over it. Look, I haven't had much chance to play more, so why don't you go ahead? Go ahead with the what's it? What's the damn 99 game?
F-Zero 99.
Yeah, Nintendo.
Yeah, also one little thing about Zelda, that is like I haven't really been playing it all that much. Like the draw has left me.
Because I haven't been there to force you.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, but the general draw has just left me, I think, with it. I've the Breath of the Wild problem is kicking in. It's like where there is so much to do that I don't feel like I want to just finish the damn game, so I go back to it and do some more. But then I'm not being like, in my like away from the game moments, I'm not thinking I should go play some Zelda. Like that's it's too big. It's too big. It's like the effect has worn off. So maybe I should just go and finish it, and then
it definitely feels a lot more checklisty than the last one. I don't know why, but I do find myself bringing up the quest log thing and finding side quests.
There's so much I haven't done still in that quest log, like quests I actually know about that I just haven't gone back and done. There's so much, and my depth coverage is not enough. I should go I don't know if you've even discovered it, but I should go do the like main depthy thing. I should go finish that off. Yeah. But then
I've been in a colour and I found the stupid horse.
You found the horse god.
Horse god, yeah, fairy type thing.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't want to do any of his stuff. I don't want to upgrade my horses by giving him complex foods. Like,
not particularly.
Yeah, no. I never did that either. Really.
No. Yeah,
horses are still not worth the effort. That's the problem.
Yeah,
give us back the teleporting horse armor, and then maybe.
Every time I get a horse out, I use it for about 2 minutes, and then go, "Oh, I'm going to have to go on foot from here."
I just don't like abandoning them, like when you have to go on foot.
I
leave them there for like forever. They're just hanging out by that river for the rest of the game.
Yep. And it's sometimes surprising when I go by. It's like, oh, there's a horse just standing there. What's that? Oh, that's mine.
Oh, it's mine. Yeah.
You're right, mate. How you doing?
Yeah.
This isn't a knock against the game. It's just too big, right. And my attention span is waning.
It's Wayne Rooneying. My attention span is Rooneying.
With well ruined. And no, I prefer Johnsoning. Oh no, that'd be more Dwayning. I'm Dwayning.
Dwayning. It's Dwayning. I mean, your mileage may vary.
Yep, absolutely. Get your mileage in now. So other than that, the thing I've been mainlining is NFS Unbound. That thing continues to be an enjoyable experience. I'm really enjoying it, and so I'm most of the way through the game now, and the story has had a few super obvious twists, but they're like, in a weird way, like that's the thing that's kind of keeping me going. It's like the story is simple, but it's a connective tissue that really works in this context, really works in this game. So it's like I do want to see it through as a result. Otherwise, perhaps some of the I guess classic problems that like Burnout games used to have are starting to rear their heads a little bit, or like classic like Need for Speed games or anything with cop chases in. As the heat gets higher and as the speeds get higher, the amount of crap outside your control also increases, which can make things quite a little bit more frustrating than they were at the start of the game. Because when I first started playing it, I remember I waxed lyrical about how exhilarating like some of the cop chases could be, and and how exciting it was to get into. Now they're kind of becoming just more of an annoyance, and I think that's probably the natural progression of these things anyway, right? That happens in almost any game with a cop chase system. But like, it's not just the cop chase itself that's the fact that you have to do it and you have to outrun the cops. It's the mechanics of how it gets when it gets harder just become irritating. Like their ability to spot you they become much quicker at like picking you out from the crowd. They seem at times a bit cheaty, because the game like almost encourages you to go hide from them, and there's even a mechanic to turn your engine off so you're harder to spot. But then the number of times I've just had cops just driving off road into the middle of nowhere to find me immediately inside a bit of construction pipe or something, and it's like, okay, clearly you just knew where I was and you were coming at me. There was nothing I could do there. And it's like that has been quite irritating. Also, like that problem extends to races as well, which is why I sort of mentioned the burnout thing. Like as cars get faster, it becomes harder to spot trouble and avoid trouble ahead of you. Like if the AI causes a crash, or if a car just appears out of nowhere in the racing line, you're way more likely to run into it at high speeds. And the high risk nature of the gameplay loop, which means you only get a limited number of retries per day, essentially. And like when you buy into a race, it costs you money, so you want to do well to recoup your losses and earn some. And some races you only get money if you win. Like that high riskiness starts to feel a bit more like bullshit after a while. As things have been getting harder, and some of the luster comes off a little bit. That said, I'm still that can happen all in a bunch, which is the most annoying thing in the world. And then you'll have a session where like absolutely nothing bad happens at all, and then you think to yourself, well, that seems surprisingly lenient, and stuff like that. So it's a bit all over the place, but in some ways, I guess that's a bit realistic and helps you buy into the world that little bit more. It just sucks when you've had a really successful day and then you get I've been busted by the cops a couple times now, and it's and so when that happens, you lose the entire session's worth of progress. It's like it just goes. Time still progresses in the storyline, but you lose any money you've made in that period. And if you're trying to scrimp enough funds together so you can actually upgrade your car enough for the big race at the weekend, then that can be quite irritating, quite a bummer. So far, I haven't failed any of that. I don't know what would happen if you like got to the end of week and didn't have the gear needed or the buy-in cost or a suitable car to actually go in. I don't know, or even if you lost that weekend thing, I don't know what would actually happen. Like, would the timeline all shift and give you another week to get ready for it? I bet that's what would happen, and they would just run it again, because they would be nice like that in the street racing scene.
Of course, it's all
about
understanding.
You. Yeah. it's I don't know. I think it's a really good one of those.
Yeah, stylish.
Yeah,
and, just a bit cool.
Yeah, it's got a little extra something, a little bit of that old arcade zhuzh.
Zhuzh.
A bit of zhuzh.
Everyone needs a bit of zhuzh now and then.
So let's actually talk about F-Zero 99, which is half the time what I end up playing when I turn my Switch on, because it's just like, oh yeah, let's play some more of that. F-Zero 99 is fun. Needs more content. It's pretty much is what it says on the tin. It's like it's F-Zero, but with 99 human players in a race at once.
Right.
And it tries to bring some of the 99 formula from the other games across a little bit, but not as successfully, I would argue. So it's like, by that I mean like in Tetris 99, for instance, you got an advantage for KOing people, for like being the one that caused them to lose. Sometimes a contentious measurement, but that was how it was done. And I think that was true of Pac-Man 99. I can't really remember what Pac-Man 99 was like. I played it like once and was like, nope. Mario 35 had a similar feeling about, it's like, this is interesting, not that interesting. I never picked it up again. Whereas this has that where you can KO the other drivers off the course, and that will give you an advantage. But that advantage is way slighter now. Like, it basically increases your max boost by a tiny amount, and will refill your boost if you're low on it as well. But that's a very minimal advantage generally. And that's it, really. The rest of it is like, it's F-Zero of 99 players. And they sort of have like, so if you're behind, they've added some extra mechanics where like collisions between other drivers will drop sparks on the floor that can be picked up by drivers behind, and that will build a secondary meter. So after a while, you can burn that meter to leave the track onto an easier skyway above, where you're basically permanently boosting along it. To bring you back, get a bit ahead a little bit more. It's a catch-up mechanic. It's an intentional rubber band. But there are ways you can get up there a little quicker. There are like golden bumper craft that appear like halfway through the pack and backwards. So if you hit those, you get more sparks added, so you can build that meter quicker. Other than that, like, it handles a little bit like it is the SNES F-Zero, so it's based on that handling model, and it's based on that. But everything has been rebuilt. Everything's from the ground up, so it doesn't quite feel the same. I was talking.
You don't have to button mash to go around corners.
Well, no, that was kind of. I mean, that kind of works, but that was pretty specifically a GBA.
Yeah, that was a GBA thing. I like that, but yeah, the pump for grip. But that is kind of a thing in this one. Like the pump, like is the way, if you're in trouble, you pump to like regain grip and start going the direction you intend. That is kind of a thing here. Also, that was the other thing I just mentioned to Zach, like being like, I'm sure it's missing some effects, and it's like it turns out those were effects that were in the GBA game, not in the original SNES game as well. Like the parallax floor effect that the GBA game did. That wasn't in the SNES original, as it turns out. That was a GBA fancy thing. So like, I can forgive it that as well. What is a little bit annoying is it seems like they're gating the track output, because there's like 5 or 6 tracks in the game right now. So I feel like I'm constantly playing if you're playing like just the F-Zero 99 mode, you're probably playing 3 of those, maybe 4 constantly, and there's a couple that are like the hard tracks that will turn up in like the end of a Grand Prix or something like that. There's one track in the game that I've never seen yet. It just has never come up. But there's clearly placeholders in the track list for a bunch more, and I'm just like, a bit of me is just like, just release them already. Like it's already getting stale for me just because of the number of tracks. Like I know some people are like super into this, but like I think I need a little more variety in it, because it's fun, but and I don't expect to. You can't expect to win all the time, because there's a whole bunch of luck when you've got 99 players all bumbling around in front of you. But it is a good time, and it works surprisingly well. I've not got the best ping, as it turns out, because I guess I'm not wired in, so my little latency meter isn't perfect, but it's good enough. I've only ever run into a couple of noticeable, like, networky problems with it, which is pretty impressive in a way. Yeah, that's cool.
I think the most noticeable thing that goes wrong is occasionally like your ship can just sort of veer off on its own, like as if you've been hit, I guess, but it didn't quite sync up with the other car actually hitting you on the track, so that can be a little off-putting at times. But it's a minor. It's a good time. It's good. It's cool that it exists. It's one of those, right? It's cool that it exists. It's a nice freebie if you're an NSO subscriber. Bring back F-Zero. Do it for real. Oh god, and what else I've been doing? Let's see. Quick wrap-ups, I guess. Still occasionally poking Detective Pikachu. I mean, the cases are getting mildly more interesting, but it's still
mildly terrifying.
But it's but it's still a pretty linear affair, and none of the puzzles have been super taxing thus far. Like hardly at all, really. They're all pretty easy. I don't know really what to say about it. It is what it is. So I did a bit of that. What else did I play? I played a bit of Kippers and I played a tiny bit of Omega Strikers, which I talked about ages ago, I think, as a sort of like, what if Rocket League was an MMO? Or, what if football was an MMO, or like Windjammers, I suppose, those sorts of games. We sort of checked in on that because it turns out I didn't have any updates downloaded for Fortnite or Counter-Strike, which were like 20 gigs each. So it's like, well, let's just do this. That game has improved quite a lot since we first played it. It was in early access when we went to it, and it's now a much slicker experience. Like, it feels more finished now. But the core is still the same. It's still exactly what it sounds like. 3-on-3 football, but you control it like an MMO. The controller support now works because Kippers was using it, whereas for me it was all kinds of busted when I tried it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the direction didn't match where you pushed the direction and it wasn't the direction your character went. Stuff like that. It was pretty broken. Yeah, it's a fun little aside. It's a decent little game, and the music's banging. I'll give it that. The music is pretty good. What else did I do? Okay, the other, I guess, more interesting. Dreamcast. I've been playing my Dreamcast still, which I probably should stop doing if I want to play some like actual games of this year and start using my Game Pass a bit more. I spent some time with Metropolis Street Racer.
Well, that was good at least.
Yeah,
I think it's old.
Yeah, it kind of is. And it's kind of aged gracefully, but sort of not at the same time. It's one of those. Like, some of the visuals look bad. So if it does the thing where like it picks like a weather condition for the various areas, and like when it's foggy, it just makes everything very great. The game is already quite washed out in appearance. Generally, it's not like a super popping visual presentation in its color palette. So when the fog comes in, everything is even more gray and even more washed out, and it can make some stuff a little bit hard to see. Apart from the shadows under the cars, which still seem perfect black. Like, they just look really weird. Like, some effects just don't work like that. But the actual driving is solid. Like, it still drives really nice. It's like it feels good to drive it around. It's a shame the performance isn't hot. Like it only runs at 30, and if you've got a busy race, that can dip, and that is a little bit of a bummer when that happens, because it does make the driving difficult. But also, like, some of their like just visual decisions, they weren't great at the time, and I think I remember this being a problem when I used to play it a lot back then. But like, coming back to it now, it's even more apparent, because obviously low resolution. It's not because it's an old game, but they decide to line every bit of pavement with like a black iron barrier that's like super thin, so like it aliases to all hell, and so spotting it sometimes isn't super obvious. And I'm not sure that was a great choice. They probably could have just put straight up barriers down, I suppose, but that maybe then it would have lost some of the city aesthetic they were going for. But yeah, it just makes it hard to actually see where the corner boundaries are at times. and I'd kind of forgotten how bizarre the music is in that game. It's strange. So it's made by our friend Richard Jakes, who, worked with Sega for a long time, including a couple of things on the Jet Set Radio soundtrack, both of them. And so this is kind of his thing, but he kind of mimics like various different stations from around the world. So there's more like, if you go to Japan, there's like it's I think it's the Shinjuku area where it's more like cheesy pop dance, with a little sprinkling of Eurobeat maybe in there. Or if you go to the UK, for instance, they have sort of like a cheesy 90s pop radio station there where it's like terrible ballads that would have been around at that time.
Oh, really?
And then there's like a drum and bass channel, and then there's a jazz channel in the UK, whereas the Americans get like, again, sort of bad, sort of like semi hip hop channel. There's one that like is really is trying to ape Will Smith, and it's hilarious. It's great.
How do you even go about trying to?
You say
Will Smith.
You say ha 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 ha. Yeah, that is exactly how you do it.
Okay, but then it just sounds like a parody. Like,
yeah, it does. It's definitely a parody. It's all over the place, and it's kind of great as a result. But it does some like super weird stuff as well. Like if you're in a tunnel under a surface, it simulates the radio cutting out.
Oh yeah, I remember that,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
it just goes a bit fuzzier.
Yeah, they never did that in Grand Theft Auto. I guess it's too annoying, right? Yeah.
Did they do that? I don't know.
I think they might have done it like 2.
Yeah, they might have done that.
Maybe once they got licensed music and stuff. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, that's like car damage. You're not allowed to fuck with these tracks.
Yeah, but the amount of stuff that is going on in that game with those tracks playing, like I'm probably not that.
Yeah, so there's that. And I think their like menu UI has problems as well. I've ran into some of the things that I'd forgotten about, like that were weird little issues. So every now and then you come across events that like you start the event and it goes, it's got these restrictions. You need to be at this place and this time. And don't forget, MSR has a real time mechanic. So it's actually saying, no, you should play the game at this time to get this time period at the location you're playing at, which of course you could just fudge by changing the system clock if you really care. But I don't see what those do anyway, because it will come up with those restrictions saying you should use this car and you should play at this time, and then it will just say not valid in big letters over, and then still let you play the event. And I don't really know what they do, because it doesn't tell you that it's like, oh, you don't do this or you won't get an unlock of some description. It just lets you do it anyway, and it's like I don't understand what those are. And there's bits of the UI where it could have just been handy to know what your own car's performance level is, so you could gauge what your car is like against the competition and stuff like that, or whether or not you should be upgrading your car or looking to do more of that stuff. And it's got a few little quality of life issues that they very much cleared up by the time Project Gotham came around. Still, it's it kind of holds up. Although it was, I'd kind of forgotten about the fact that you could like customize all of the, like it had 2 messages it would put on screen. Like if you were sliding and earning kudos, it would have a message it would put on screen, and if you hit a wall, it would have a message that it would put on screen. And you can customize those for some reason. Oh. So of course, like 2000s era. Us, I suppose. I guess I thought it was funny to drift around corners and have it go "What's up?" like in text with lots of U's. And if I ran into a wall, it would of course say "schmuck."
Schmuck. You schmuck.
So it was weird, and I was in number plates, of course, customized to all be weird things. Anyway, I had a pretty good time. Don't know if I'll go back to it again, but it was an enjoyable little venture. I played it for several hours. The other thing I picked up, because I had a pickup, because it was a bargain, I picked up a copy of F355 Ferrari Challenge,
I vaguely remember that.
Which is Sega's attempt at a sim racer.
Yeah.
AM2 had a go. It's surprisingly good.
Interesting.
Like it is. It's a slightly odd take because it's basically a port of their arcade game, which was a big old, like, I think it ran on like 3 Naomi boards, and you had like 3 screens around you, so you had a central view and 2 side views on 3 separate monitors, and it was kind of a big cabinet and kind of cool. But like AM2 went hard on making it simulation, so you know, hit your braking zones correctly, turn in correctly, don't accelerate at the wrong time, otherwise you'll drift off the track and stuff like that. They went in. This game's hard. Like really hard, and it takes a long time to sort of get a feel for its driving, and it feels like if you come off playing any other racing game, it feels very slow because it's got that kind of sim feel, like especially like how early Gran Turismo's felt, if you know what I mean. Like it's just that sort of plod around the turn, but I don't have as much grip as I thought I did kind of feel.
I'm going to spin out even though I don't feel like I'm going.
Yeah, it's very much one of those. Hey, it's like one of the few games I remember like that in having assists you can turn on and off, and it lets you like stability and contraction control and auto braking. You can turn them off on the fly, which is fun. There's like 2 buttons on the controller dedicated to just switching whether you want certain assists turned on or off on the fly, which is weird. I guess they used to be like physical buttons on the arcade cab. Yeah, that game's real hard, but it's actually pretty good. I got a bit addicted, you know. If I sit down with it, like it's one of those games I find hard to stop because it's just like, okay, I could probably do a little bit better. Let's run that again. I've never won a race on it. The best I've come is second because you know, arcade difficulty. But yeah, it actually handles real nice. It feels good to play. It runs at a solid 60. It's got that like Sega arcade look to it. It's got a bizarre rock soundtrack that, like, I don't know if it necessarily fits. Doesn't seem quite right. And there's like a DJ guy that you can't hear, but he's talking at the starts of tracks, and at the end, near the end of the race, it's like there's only like one line I can ever hear, and it's like, "Step on it to your heart's content." It's a really weird choice. Like, why is that guy so muffled and like inaudible? It's bizarre. But yeah, I was a bit surprised. I was kind of going into it thinking, I'm sure this will be all right. Like it's a Sega racing game. Like what could go wrong? But it's as it turns out, not a lot. It's good. But it's kind of all it is. Don't expect a huge amount of content. Is that it? That might be it.
Ferrari F355 challenge, and that's a podcast. Woo! Right on time.
Yeah. I hope I timed that well. I tried.
Pretty good. Yeah. And I think I shall do a wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out our YouTube channel, Happy Salad. We've got a continuing series on our Let's Play of Beyond Good and Evil, which is coming to a close, roughly. I think we got one more in us, haven't we?
Yeah, I think it's just the one.
But check out the latest prior episode to that, coming up to the denouement.
It went up yesterday by the time this podcast goes out.
Yeah, you'll be able to watch it. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks, hopefully, with it, unless there's any other unplanned hospital visits, etc.
Yeah, assuming none of us die.
Yeah, assuming that we're all still alive. We'll catch you in a fortnight. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.